A DIY solar panel system that offsets half your electricity usage costs about $5,000 to $8,000 in materials. A magnifier engine setup that does the same job costs $300 to $1,500. That's not a minor price difference. That's one system being 5 to 10 times cheaper than the other for comparable results. I'm going to walk you through exactly what you're buying with each system, what the installation process actually looks like, and why one approach requires specialized knowledge while the other can be built by someone who's never picked up a wrench. Let's start with what DIY solar actually means, because most people underestimate what's involved. You're not just buying panels and screwing them to your roof. You need panels, racking systems, an inverter, charge controllers if you're adding batteries, junction boxes, proper gauge wiring, disconnect switches, grounding equipment, and all the mounting hardware. Then you need to understand electrical code. You need to calculate your array size based on your power needs and available roof space. You need to determine the proper tilt angle for your latitude. You need to wire everything in series and parallel correctly to get the right voltage and amperage. You need to mount the panels securely enough to withstand high winds. You need to seal all roof penetrations so you don't create leaks. You need to run conduit from the roof to your electrical panel following code requirements. And in most jurisdictions, even DIY solar installations need permits and inspections. An inspector will check your work, and if it doesn't meet code, you'll need to redo it. This isn't a weekend project. Even experienced DIYers report spending 40 to 80 hours on a basic solar installation. If you've never done electrical work before, you're looking at a steep learning curve. Now let's talk about cost. Budget DIY solar kits for a 3 kilowatt system run about $4,000 to $6,000. That's just materials. It doesn't include batteries, which add another $2,000 to $5,000 if you want backup power. You can sometimes find used panels cheaper, but you're gambling on their condition and remaining lifespan. Solar panels degrade over time, and used panels might already be down to 80 or 70% of their original output. So realistically, you're looking at $5,000 to $8,000 to DIY a system that significantly reduces your grid dependence. Less than professional installation, yes, but still a major investment. Now let's look at a magnifier engine setup. The core components are simpler. You need a Stirling engine, which can be built from basic materials or purchased as a kit. You need a parabolic mirror or Fresnel lens to concentrate sunlight. You need a generator head to convert mechanical motion to electricity. And you need some basic mounting and tracking hardware. That's it. No inverters, no charge controllers, no complex wiring arrays, no roof penetrations, no permits in most areas because you're not connecting to the grid the same way solar does. The assembly process is mechanical, not electrical. You're bolting parts together, mounting a mirror, and positioning the engine where it gets good sun exposure. If you can assemble furniture from IKEA, you can build a magnifier engine. Most people complete their first build in 3 to 6 hours, not 40 to 80. The learning curve is much gentler because you're working with physical components you can see and touch, not abstract electrical concepts. Cost-wise, you can build a functional magnifier engine from scratch for $200 to $500 if you source parts carefully. Pre-built kits run $800 to $1,500 for systems that generate enough power to offset a significant portion of typical household usage. Even at the high end, you're spending a fraction of what DIY solar costs. So why doesn't everyone build magnifier engines instead of installing solar panels? Information availability and perceived legitimacy. If you search for DIY home power, you get flooded with solar content. Detailed guides, YouTube videos, kit suppliers, forums full of people sharing their experiences. The path is clear. You know what to buy, where to buy it, and roughly what to expect. Magnifier engine information is scattered. There's no multi-billion-dollar industry creating how-to content. You have to dig deeper to find plans, source lists, and build guides. It feels less established, which makes people nervous about committing time and money. But here's what actually matters. Once you have good plans and a clear parts list, the magnifier engine build is objectively simpler and cheaper than DIY solar. Let's compare the skill requirements directly. DIY solar requires understanding volts, amps, watts, and how they interact. You need to calculate wire gauge based on current and distance. You need to understand series versus parallel wiring and when to use each. You need to work safely with high voltage DC power. A magnifier engine requires understanding basic mechanics. Pistons move, flywheels spin, gears turn. You need to align components so they move smoothly and attach a generator. The concepts are intuitive because you can watch them work. From a troubleshooting standpoint, solar systems can fail in ways that are hard to diagnose. Is the inverter bad? Is there a wiring issue? Is a panel damaged? Are the charge controller settings wrong? You need diagnostic tools and electrical knowledge to figure it out. If a magnifier engine isn't working, you can usually see the problem. The piston isn't moving. The flywheel is binding. The mirror isn't aligned. The fixes are mechanical and straightforward. Now let's talk about expandability and flexibility. With DIY solar, you design a system for a specific power output. If you want more power later, you need to add more panels, which might require upgrading your inverter and charge controller. Everything has to match and integrate properly. With magnifier engines, you just build another unit. Each engine is independent. You can start with one, add a second when you have more money, add a third if your power needs increase. There's no complex system integration to worry about. And here's a key difference. Solar panels only work when the sun is shining directly on them. If you want power at night or on cloudy days, you need expensive battery storage. A magnifier engine can run on multiple heat sources. Yes, you use concentrated sunlight when it's available. But you can also run the same engine on a small propane burner, a natural gas line, or even a wood fire. That flexibility means you're not completely dependent on weather conditions. Let's talk about maintenance and longevity. Solar panels have no moving parts, which sounds great, but they do degrade. You lose about 0.5% of efficiency per year. After 20 years, your panels are producing significantly less power than when you installed them. The inverter is the weak point. Most need replacement after 10 to 15 years at a cost of $1,000 to $3,000. Batteries, if you have them, need replacement every 5 to 10 years. Magnifier engines are mechanical, so they do need maintenance. Lubrication, occasional seal replacement, but the parts are simple and cheap. A rebuild kit might cost $50 to $100 and extend the life by another decade. And because you're working with basic mechanical components, repairs are something you can do yourself. With solar electronics, when something fails, you're often replacing entire units. Here's the bottom line. If you have $8,000 and want to reduce your electricity costs, you could build a DIY solar system that might save you $100 a month, with degrading performance over time and major component replacements ahead. Or you could build 3 to 5 magnifier engine setups for the same money, have redundancy in case one needs maintenance, maintain flexibility in your heat sources, and have simpler, cheaper repairs when things eventually need attention. The solar industry has done an incredible job convincing people that photovoltaic panels are the only viable path to home power generation. But they're not. They're just the path that supports a large commercial infrastructure. For actual DIYers willing to work with their hands and follow clear instructions, magnifier engines offer better economics, simpler builds, and more flexibility. I've put together detailed information in the description comparing component costs, build complexity, and maintenance requirements for both approaches. If you want practical comparisons of alternative energy systems based on what they actually cost and what they actually require to build, subscribe for analysis that goes beyond what the solar industry is selling. DIY doesn't have to mean expensive. It just means you're willing to learn something new.